What's up, everybody? Steph and Curry here. I know you all know I play for the Golden State Warriors, but man, what a great honor it was to represent Team USA and go out there and win that gold medal at the Olympics this summer. And that unity on and off the court reminded us all that together we can do all things and continue to inspire the world. That's why I believe that Kamala, as president, could bring that unity back and continue to move our country forward. Obviously, endorsing Kamala is important for me, for my family.
Why? What are the issues you care about most?
Say what?
What are the issues you care about?
I just know from especially women's rights and thinking about, what's at stake with this election, and understanding like we need to be in a position where women have the right to choose what's right for them. And that's at the top of the list for me. I have amazing women in my life who've, been a huge inspiration to me. But knowing Kamala and having been around her, and I understand she's qualified for this job. She's, I think, representing what it means to be a great leader and being a decent human being in terms of representing our country the right way. So it's an easy choice for me, but to be able to have be in a situation where you can be a part of the DNC, do a video like that, let people know where I feel like, but foster positive conversations, through it all. I think that's what our country needs.
All right, guys. So we got to talk about rich liberals coming out and endorsing Kamala Harris. Okay, you have rich liberals like Steph Curry, who has come out and endorsed Kamala Harris for some of the silliest reasons. Like, for example, women's rights. Now, I'm assuming that this guy is talking about abortion, right? So this guy who has daughters is essentially voting for Kamala Harris so that his daughters can have abortions, right? Which makes no sense to me because last time I checked, he lived in California, and in California, there's no threat to abortion, right? That's not a state that would ever vote to ban abortion or access to abortion. So I don't think that Steph Curry is very politically educated, right? I think he's just saying things that his liberal handlers told him that he must say, right? You got to go out here and say the things that the liberal handlers tell people like him to say. Well, women's rights, okay? And it's like, okay, well, what rights don't women have, right? There are no rights that women don't have in 2024 that men have, okay? But again, that's not a conversation that these people are well equipped to have, okay? This is why when you ask them, okay, why do you support Kamala? Why are you endorsing her? Is always word salad, right? And platitudes and things that really don't mean anything. So with that being said, you do have other rich liberals who are coming out here and endorsing Kamala Harris, who I believe are more informed than people like Steph Curry, but they are severely Trump deranged to the point where they are supporting something even though they know that, hey, her policies are not good for people like me or really the average everyday American, which is what Mark Cuban is going to admit on CNBC as he gets pressed on Kamala's insane economic policies, like, for example, the tax on unrealized capital gains, which is supposed to be just for the rich, right? This is what they always say when the government wants to stick their hand in your pocket, right? They want to find a new way to do so. They say, oh, well, it's only for the rich, until they start applying that to everybody, which is definitely what would happen in this situation. But Mark Cuban, again, he's going to acknowledge that her policies, at least what she's saying in public, are policies that are bad for the economy. They're going to crash the stock market, but yet he's supporting her anyways, because apparently behind closed doors, maybe she's saying something a little bit different. Maybe she's telling the billionaires and the millionaires that she's supposed to be against something different than what she's telling the public, because what she's telling the public is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs insane. And Mark Cuban is going to freak out when confronted on this by this CNBC host. Take a look.
On this unrealized tax issue, gain issue, and where we've talked about, those who are taking loans against their unrealized stock, et cetera, and then they say, well, if you start to tax that, we won't be able to make investments in startups. We won't be able to give money over to venture capitalists and private equity folks and other things like that. What's your feedback to that distinction? Because I wonder, once there's a critique of one, then of one policy, and you get rid of that policy, then of course it moves to the critique of the next version of it.
Well, of course, but okay. So what I told him was, if you tax unrealized gains, you're going to kill the stock market. right? And it's going to be the ultimate employment plan for private equity, because companies are not going to go public because you can get whipsawed, right? I mean, my own personal experience back from the internet days, right? All of a sudden I was cash poor, but equity rich, right? My net worth was enormous, but the number of dollars in the bank wasn't enormous. And so I'd have, based off of the unrealized gains, I would have had to borrow money, and I effectively would have been in hock just to pay my tax bill instead of trying to run my company, and 1,000 other reasons, right? So they realize that's the issue. I can't repeat it enough. Even though she's not directly conflicting the Biden tax plan, to her value proposition is we need to tax everybody fairly. I'm starting from the Biden plan as a starting point, but that's not necessarily her ending
Mark,
point.
let me just say, I appreciate you calling in, telling us what you're hearing on these fronts. That's great. But as you've said yourself, you can't speak for the vice president. These are things they're telling you. Who knows what they're telling other people? My guess is they're telling anybody who's donating to them exactly what they want to hear at this point. What matters is what they say publicly and what they will stick to.
No, absolutely, positively not. Right. Let me just be very clear.
I don't know. Like, why do you think that they're telling you the truth and not telling other people other things?
Well, I don't,
if they won't say it publicly, say it publicly. Tell all of us so that we can hold you to it.
I get it, but you've got to get the details right. You can't just...
Yeah, but we have 60 days till an election. Like, you're asking people to take a flyer.
Even if it's the day before the election, right? Even if it's the day before. Look, the next question is, the second thing I was going to mention earlier.
I just don't want everybody to trade on what we think and what we feel and what we think may happen.
Exactly.
Just tell us.
I get your point exactly, right? But again, like any good CEO, you've got to do it when you get it right. Not because, your customer is screaming or yelling, well, we're waiting on the new pricing for the SaaS program. No, let me get it right.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy the product until you tell me what the product is.
Right. So, Mark, here's I think, the fairest question to this. What do you think the fairest timeline is for her to disclose and articulate exactly what the policies are? Meaning, recognizing that she's gotten into this campaign late, I get that piece of it, and the issue of trying to get it right, but also recognizing that the American public needs to understand these issues, hopefully to the best they can, prior to voting. What is a fair amount of time? Would you say 4 weeks out, 6 weeks out? I mean, we're only 8 weeks out, right? So what's your...
brutally honest on what I think on this. Number one, the number of people this truly impacts is less than 1% of the voting population, right? And so this is not number one priority for her. It's not, right, in terms of speaking about it and getting the word out. She wanted to talk about entrepreneurs, startups, founders first. The people like me in my position, we're not at the top of the list. We're closer to the bottom. So we're not going to get that full detailed disclosure first.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, that was Mark Cuban basically admitting that, Kamala's plan, as stated, her tax plan to go after unrealized capital gains would tank the market, right? It would tank the market. Now, he justifies defending Kamala Harris in this Looney Tunes policy that, according to him, would tank the market, okay, which would hurt everyday working class Americans, especially those who are looking to retire, right? Which is what I told you guys yesterday. If Kamala Harris actually enacted that plan to tax unrealized capital gains, you can kiss your retirement goodbye, right? Who knows when you will be able to retire? It won't be anytime soon, okay? Everybody knows this, okay? Mark Cuban knows that this is insane. But apparently, according to him, he strongly suggested that maybe Kamala Harris was telling him something behind closed doors that's a little bit different than what she's saying in public. And when called out on this, he immediately freaks out. Oh, no. She's not just telling me what I want to hear, right? Because apparently, according to him, that's not her real plan, right? It's just a starting point, right? We're just using what Biden wanted to do, and we're just looking for a way to tax the wealthy fairly, right? We're just looking for a way to do so. Now, I did an in-depth analysis on this whole conversation in my last video on this yesterday, and the fact is that they claim that they're concerned about billionaires taking advantage of getting loans in order to finance their lifestyles while not paying taxes. Now, Democrats, instead of just using a common sense approach, which is addressing the actual problem, the loophole, right, which is the step up in basis for capital gains that happens at death, right? Instead of addressing that, no, they just want to invent a whole new way of taxing people, right, through the unrealized capital gains tax. Okay, so Mark Cuban is supporting somebody that, at least according to him, has policies that will tank the market. But also according to him, she's telling him and his other billionaire buddies, right, his other millionaire donors, different things, right, telling them different things behind closed doors in regards to what she actually wants to do. So which one is it? Does she support the unrealized capital gains tax or what, right? Because Mark Cuban is trying to basically finesse this by saying that, well, she's looking for things that she can do, right? This was just thrown out there. Well, it's like, okay, if she doesn't actually really want to do this, then why is she saying this? Why is she telling the public this, right? Why is she coming out here and strongly suggesting that she wants to do price controls, which also is very anti-business, right? Which is funny because Mark Cuban is trying to make the case that Kamala Harris and Democrats are pro-business. But when you look at their policies, like raising the capital gains tax rate, taxing unrealized capital gains, price controls, this is not pro-business, right? This is very anti-business, okay? And it fully aligns with Kamala Harris's suspected communist ideology, right? That is what it aligns with, okay? She is leaning into policies publicly that are extremely far left, okay? But Mark Cuban is trying to say that, oh, well, she hasn't really decided yet what she's going to do. They're still trying to develop a plan for what she's going to do. Okay, well, how long does she need, Mark? And also, if she doesn't know exactly what she wants to do, then why is it that you're supporting her, right? Why are you supporting somebody and you don't know exactly what they want to do, or they don't have policies that are fully developed, but yet the policies that she has put out there, you've acknowledged that, yeah, this is going to take the market, right? That this is a terrible thing. But at the same time, he's trying to frame Kamala Harris as a moderate, right? He's trying to say, no, she's not some cuckoo for Cocoa Puff leftist. No, that's not who she is, okay? But let me explain to you why this policy she put out there would take the market, okay? Again, you can't have it both ways, Mark, okay? This is what Democrats think Kamala should be able to do, right? They believe that you should not criticize Kamala for her past beliefs because she has changed, okay? Now, she can't explain why she changed her beliefs, okay? She can't do any interviews or anything like that to inform the American people in regards to why is it that she's no longer a communist. No, she can't do that, right? And you're not supposed to be able to criticize her for that, right? So you can't criticize her on these past beliefs, even though she hasn't explained why she changed these beliefs. And when she puts out new policies and proposals that align with her past beliefs that we all speculate she still has, because Kamala Harris said herself her values haven't changed. When you criticize her new policies, oh, no, you don't understand. This is not actually what she wants to do, right? She's just testing the water. She's just throwing things out there, okay? And trying to get a reaction and see if this is something she should do, okay? We don't really know what she believes, okay? But trust me, she's a moderate, right? She's a moderate. I don't think any of this makes sense, right? None of this makes sense. This is Trump derangement, okay? Trump derangement makes you cognitively impaired, okay? Because you have to be a cognitively impaired billionaire to support any presidential candidate that would consider a tax on unrealized capital gains, okay? Just the fact that she's even considering it, the fact that she even would put it out there to the American people, that should disqualify her, right? Automatically, okay? Automatic disqualification. Knowing full well what the consequences of that will be. Again, not just for billionaires, but for everybody. Anybody that's trying to retire, it would be an absolute disaster. Just like the Democrats and their economic policies have been thus far for the country as a whole and at the local level. In fact, this is something that another Shark Tank investor, who seems to me to not be Trump deranged like Mark Cuban, he's acknowledged this and went on the liberal media to thoroughly explain why is it that the Democrats and their policies are terrible for business. They're terrible for this country.
And here's the one thing that nobody saw coming, and this is the competition of states. I don't put companies here in New York anymore, or in Massachusetts, or in New Jersey, or in California. Those states are uninvestable. The policy here is insane. The taxes are too high. We put them in Fargo, North Dakota, because 40% of the people work elsewhere, including Boston. So I was, a bit of a debate with Elizabeth Warren about this, but I say, look, Senator, we've got to move the companies out of your state because you're not investable anymore. You're punishing people if they're successful. You overtax them. You hit them with a super tax. New Jersey, what a mess. New York, uninvestable. And
Wait,
California.
why is New York uninvestable?
Try and do a project in New York. Try and build a data.
Yeah, I'm asking, Don's point, is it beyond the taxes?
Oh, the regulatory environment is punitive. I had a project in upstate New York behind the grid in Niagara Falls for electricity, a global data center we were building. Eventually, it got so bad with the politicians in the local region and the state policy, we moved it to Norway and all the jobs. Norway has it now. Thousands of jobs coming out of that. I mean, that's New York. Uninvestable. Sorry, don't shoot the messenger. Just telling you the way it is.
Yeah,
That's
I think
it.
we
Uninvestable.
some pushback from our elected officials in New York
I
on
was
that.
just going to say Kathy Hochul.
Yeah, but
I'll
when
debate them any time of the day you want.
we would love to set that up.
Particularly
I'd watch
AOC.
that.
She's great at killing jobs. She kills jobs by the thousands.
The wealth tax, the taxing unrealized gains on everything. That's what, first of all, it's been tried more than a dozen times in Europe. Almost all of those have failed terribly. I think there's only one country that still has it out of more than a dozen. And you're taxing unrealized gains on not only stocks but farmland, paintings, gold, whatever you have. Not only is it bad policy because it hasn't worked, but it also increases the intrusive power of big government. They have the right to go into your house, figure out what you have that might have gained that you have to pay more taxes on. I mean, Big Brother writ large, it not only doesn't work, but it also increases an intrusive state, which most people think is already too big.
Of all the suggestions I've heard on taxation, I find that the most offensive. Because just think about America. 62% of jobs are created by my people, small businesses that have between 5 and 500 employees. We watch the value of our companies go up each year, even though we're struggling to keep them going with all the regulatory environment and all the competition, but we do it. And all of a sudden, we get a tax bill. Let's say our business went from being worth $10 million to $20 million over 5 years. Where am I going to come up with $3-4 million cash that I don't even have, that I never had? I mean, when you really start thinking pragmatically about these ideas, you understand how bad they are. And by the way, the reason she has to answer to these on a live interview is the only people that matter now. This election is going to be decided by 100,000 votes. That's about it in 7 states. Those people are waiting for answers. Forget about the 42, 43 states that are already decided. They've already made up their minds. Yeah. Everybody that we care about now needs to understand, look, I'm a small business owner. I'm running a dry cleaners, and you're telling me I owe you $800,000 4 years after I open it that I don't have? I mean, think about that. Yeah. That just makes no sense whatsoever. That's so un-American. It's un-American.
Yeah, because the Democrat Party is un-American, right? And their move towards communism is un-American. And you're seeing that reflected in their policies, right? They don't care about the backbone of this country, which are small businesses, okay? No, actually what they care about is trying to get as much power and control for the government, okay, through taxing the American people into perpetuity, while at the same time transferring over that money to useless projects and giving it to their buddies via corporate socialism, right? This is typically how the Democrat Party operates, okay? And then they try to tell you, well, hey, we're trying to help the poor, right? When they're really just trying to keep the poor dependent on the government, okay, while at the same time maintaining as much power and control for themselves and their rich buddies, while the middle class, working class people, small business owners suffer at the hands of their disastrous policies, okay? And you would be a fool to believe that the same people who have destroyed this economy are going to be the same people that are going to fix it and that everything is going to be better under Kamala Harris. It's insane, right? Even somebody like Mark Cuban is admitting out loud that, yeah, this policy is a disaster. Yesterday I did a video. Ro Khanna came out. Yeah, this is a disaster. Everybody knows it's a disaster, and you're depending on Kamala Harris to come up with good ideas when all of the ideas that she's came out with thus far have been absolutely terrible. Yeah, that's just stupidity in my opinion. But hey, like I told you guys, Trump derangement causes cognitive impairment apparently, and I think that's what you're seeing from people like Steph Curry and Mark Cuban. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.